let's visit the conversation of O.J. Simpson passing away this past week. Dies at 76. I'm trying to think of what direction to take the conversation in, fellas, and I guess the most relevant one would be, is O.J. Simpson the most despised, hated sports hero that you can think of in the history of sports? Because I can honestly say I have not heard too much, if any, narratives that would be considered to be positive about O.J. Simpson. The biggest story and the biggest conversation point with O.J. Simpson is clearly and obviously the double murders that took place that he was accused of and found innocent of doing it. Now, granted, keep in mind, the burden of proof is to prove that that's what you did, without a doubt. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. But anyways, it's not the fact that I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to get into the legal jargon of it all. Is this guy the most hated? Like this, he's dead now. He died. He passed away. And yet people are happy. They're super happy that he's died. They're reveling in the idea of him, being dead and having no sympathies towards it. Is this the right approach? How do you feel about it?
Man, this is tough, LaVar, because when you talk about O.J. Simpson, a football player, one of the greatest running backs to ever play, but it's hard to just talk about O.J. Simpson, a football player, without bringing up and at least being aware of what he went to trial for. Although he was found not guilty, many, including myself, felt he was guilty. I mean, you don't hop in a Bronco and get on the 91 freeway. I mean, he was rolling right by my house. And so if you don't do that, and it sucks for the families of the victims, his children, himself, but he was found not guilty of it. And again, many people thought he was guilty, and I felt like society got him back when he ended up having to go to prison, although he was able to come out of prison and it looks like lead somewhat of a productive life. But when you take the lives of two people, and again, although he was found not guilty, this is just my opinion, man, it's tough that when you hear that name, that's the first thing I think about. I don't even think about the football player anymore. I think about kids that don't have their mother any longer, and parents that they no longer have their children. And so that there is tough. It's hard to think of that name and not have the empathy towards those that were affected.
Man, it's kind of mixed emotions, I think, all across the board. I've met OJ and sat down and had conversations with him, but the people, most of the people that I know who were friends with OJ, you got to remember, like back in his time, man, he
was a hero.
He was a hero.
The biggest hero.
He was more recognizable than the president at one time, based off of his college career at USC, Heisman Trophy, and obviously being the first running back in history to run for 2,000 yards back in the 70s, and all of those things, and then everything transpired. I think the saddest part about it is that nobody got any closure. Like those people that were passed away, and now he has perished, and it's just unfortunate that I don't know who. I don't have an opinion, but His legacy of himself is what it's going to be. It just depends on, what side of the fence you are, with O.J. Simpson. As far as, just like you said, TJ, everybody has their own, speculation or opinion of him, but he went to court and he was found not guilty. But that would never be enough, I feel like. So it's kind of, for me, I had a chance to meet him and sit down with him a few times, man. And, obviously I had some good conversations with him. But at the end of the day, just like you said, people lost parents. His legacy will go on as whatever you portray it to be, or however you feel, about him. And that's what it's always going to be for O.J. Simpson. It's just unfortunate thing for him and his family, extended family, who are still living. Those are the people that are going to have to live with that and carry that on with them too for the rest of their lives.
The first thing when I sat on when this happened, because I had to talk about, we were on air on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe we were doing the Dan Patrick Show when the news broke. Don't y'all find it kind of strange that there was never a very, very assertive effort and attempt by O.J. Simpson to really, really clear up the fact that he did not do it?
He felt like, obviously, again, this is my opinion. He felt like the trial was, it cleared up everything. That's what he felt. Obviously, why would he come out and say something?
Because
he went to trial.
Because the world continued to say exactly what you are saying and saying and spewing the hate towards him that it did. Why wouldn't he make an assertive effort to, why would you come out with books if I were to do it type stuff? Why were these narratives coming out? To myself, you were such a major sports figure. You were nicknamed the Juice. Everybody knew who he was. Like you said, Plex, everybody was a fan.
Wasn't he
OJ.
one of, him and Jim Brown were one of the first two football players that kind of turned into movie stars.
He was a movie star, bro.
They were the first
he was a
two.
big time. Yeah. He was on that level. He was on that level.
The majority of society had already formed an opinion prior to the trial. They had already formed an opinion. He was guilty. He did it. Why did he run? If you're not guilty, you're not running. And so a lot of people had already formed an opinion.
And by the way,
that's
TJ, another major piece of that is he had a gun and was talking about he was going to end it. What you got a gun in the back seat of the car for, in the truck, and you're about to end it. And it's kind of crazy to me that, in knowing that you had the opportunity to have one of the most iconic legacies connected to sport, you turn into one of the most polarizing, infamous people maybe ever in the history of sports. And I just find it intriguing that this is one of those stories where it's like, this man just died. He just passed away.
Right.
And I almost feel like there was a collective sense of relief that the man passed away. I don't know that I've ever felt or heard or experienced anything like this in my entire life.
Hey, LaVar, let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. How do you feel about the fact that, to my knowledge, that not one teammate that he played with put anything out on social media about him as being the man or the football player that they played with? Not one teammate said anything. What do you think about that?
I didn't really see anything coming out that outside of the obvious, the family statement,
right,
stuff like that. There was nothing positive that came out about him. Nothing. And you could throw in there contemporaries like Marcus Allen. different things like that.
Right.
I
think the Heisman Trophy posted something, which I thought was
crazy,
nice about that. But from a teammate standpoint, not one player,
the teammates knew him before,
right?
The
that you played with,
yeah,
in college and in professional, and nobody had my man back to say anything good about him as a man or a football player.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Marcus put something on his story and I missed it, but I know he didn't put nothing on his IG about it. That would have been the one I would have, I looked for and wanted to see what that looked like, what that represented. That didn't take place.